We are back. This is week 4 of Halloween month. We all came together and picked Halloween. This is done by one of Roger's favorite directors we covered last review, John Carpenter. So he didn't write Halloween. He did write Halloween.
Yeah,
he did.
With Deborah Hill. Deborah Hill did a lot of the female dialogue.
Okay. 1978. Michael Myers, iconic. Everybody kind of knows it. It stars Jamie Lee Curtis in her first film.
It said introducing her.
Yeah, so I would assume.
It did say introducing.
Yeah. And it was interesting that, like I said, Janet Leigh is Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, and she's famous for a role in Psycho where she was killed in the shower. And so it's, fitting that her daughter would grow up to be in a slasher film that was inspired a lot by, by Psycho, where there's a guy killing with a kitchen knife just like in Psycho.
Yeah, this is not like, a lot of, it spawned tons of slashers, but it really doesn't have a lot of slashing going on.
There's not really hardly any blood or gore.
No.
There's a little bit of blood, but it's just like, it's a little bit.
It's little, very minimal.
The actresses, though, that I mentioned, Nancy Loomis, PJ Souls. Nancy Loomis did other roles. She was in The Fog. She's also in Assault on Precinct 13 as well. So
The way this film shot, for me, the way the pacing and all the music and everything, it fit the times. You could get away with doing that in 1978. Nowadays, if you don't have some kind of big scare or some big shock or, I don't know, something like that, it's not really, suspense horror doesn't really get people what it did back in the 70s.
They just don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to agree. And I think this film had me totally suspense the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you mean. Today in the theater, you gotta have the grosser, the whatever. You got Saw and stuff. Basically snuff films, torture porn or whatever is what they call it.
Closest thing you can get
Murder
to it, right?
porn. Yeah.
Without it really being a true snuff film.
Yeah. This did 3 people end up dying?
4 if you count the sister.
If you count the sister in the beginning.
Yeah. There's a
But
guy
that'd
in the
be
truck
4.
that you see.
Yeah, there's a guy in the truck, so that's 5. We had 5 murders.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there were 3 in the house. They were actually killed that night. So it's not like a lot of your horror movies where I guess it just seems like
higher body
counts. Higher body counts. Yeah, definitely higher.
Each kill had its own storyline to it. I mean, before each character developed enough.
They weren't just kills. They were the characters were kind of pretty well built,
Where they're methodically picked off. You know what I mean? You kind of notice that, the sister kind of sets it up, then the guy in the truck, he kind of needs the clothes or whatever he's getting from there, and then he didn't just kill them right off the bat. He just walked in and it wasn't methodical enough for him. It wasn't pleasing enough for him, I guess you'd say. You had to make each kill mean something, I guess, or had to really show them your actions.
Yeah, he was building some kind of a shrine too, or something.
Yeah, the girl representing his sister laying in the bed dead. We don't know what motivates Michael Myers.
He's just evil, according to Dr. Loomis.
According to the doctor, who we pretty much get all of Michael Myers' character through this doctor. He is the one that delivers this guy's personality and who he is. When we find out he's just nothing but a killing machine, really. There's no one's home except pure evil.
Yeah.
The blackest of eyes.
We don't know what he was eating on that tarp either, which is they came in and they're like, he must have gotten hungry. It's like, oh, it could have been a skunk or something, and they don't ever show, which is awesome. They don't ever show, so you just get to imagine what it is. You don't know quite what they're looking at. It's like some sort of pile of entrails or something that he's eating. And sheriff at that point, men don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like this sheriff. Yeah, I don't know.
He's
not a very good sheriff.
Yeah. That's a town full of just families with parents and kids, and he's like, yeah. He's like, you think you're gonna come here to slaughter him? Yeah, pretty much.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
That's naive about it, yeah.
Yeah, he was naive about all
the sheriff's naive. Yeah.
Small town living.
The doctor, like I said, they blame everything on the kids when it's Michael Myers is doing it.
Yeah.
They got a serious problem, but they're just blaming it on the kids. And Dr. Loomis seems like a kind of a nut job because he's saying the psychopaths lose, but where's the destruction? Where's the chaos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Well, that's because he stands around, as a psychopath, he stands around and watches a whole lot. This guy is scary about standing and watching.
it always seemed like it was just like over the top with his timing, like, you know, getting the door with the rake or being here, getting the body up there. But they had that one scene where they kind of showed how like he moves so methodically whenever like I pointed out during the film, where I was like, you kind of see him kind of paying off of the camera. He's like, he just understands from watching and observing people how to like trick them, move with them, like, you know, move with their actions. And
he might get caught sometimes. Who knows? Maybe he's not that worried about it.
Yeah, I don't think he's worried about anything.
I don't think he cares.
He's not. He's, you know, he knows enough to stuff the bodies up, so he doesn't just like leave them out in the yard or something like that. And he knows enough to put the sheet on and kind of fuck with that chick in that way. He puts the sheet on in her boyfriend's glasses.
Got a little.
Like a sense of humor there. He's like, you know, trick or treat or whatever. Or, you know, it's just kind of strange. The film is awesome at building suspense, though. That's really what it is a suspense machine. Because really, there's not a ton of action in this, but he has a good way of keeping you on the edge of your seat through just like long builds up. And every time he comes around, you hear this breathing. And so that comes into play more and more as the film goes on. You get this breathing that's going on in the background. Like you're inside the mask and you're just waiting for him. And so everything they pan across, and look at these big pans across these areas of rooms, and like there's a door over here, there's a door here, there's a door here, there's a window here. And because of this breathing or because of the music, you're just waiting for him to pop out of any one of those holes. And it just has a really good, this film really builds suspense in a way that they just don't hardly do that these days.
I was going to say, I think a lot too comes from his studying of Hitchcock, because Hitchcock is a master of suspense as well. Psycho came out before this, and owes Psycho the bigger nod, I guess, and then this went on to spawn more slasher films, you know. But I would say that's what it is, more or less. It's the Hitchcock, that formula that Carpenter borrowed heavily, you know. And he admits that in other films, like Someone's Watching Me and stuff like that, so. It could be budget too, but he's just excellent. Takes the time and like the confidence in his filmmaking to know that he can do this with his story, with his film.
Yeah. Whereas
filmmakers nowadays, they don't feel that they can hold the audience for that long, so they don't do that. More gore. It's just, you know, it's a choice that the filmmakers make or the producers make.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of cheap shots in this film.
It's not that the audience doesn't go for it, it's that the studios don't want to push it. But films like this will work if done right.
Yeah.
Obviously. This it made $300,000 and it made millions, you know.
Still is.
It's still making millions. Yeah, it's still making millions. It's on TV. Like
hundreds of millions. How about that?
Yeah.
Every Halloween this movie is on TV.
Yeah.
Like it's a cash cow. Can't kill the boogeyman.
Yeah. He's pretty superhuman.
Yeah.
He takes a knitting needle to the neck, he takes a knife,
hanger
to the eye or whatever, and then he takes like 6 shots out a window. Is he just so crazy that he doesn't feel it? Is he just because
possessed? Is he truly evil?
We don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe
what makes a little kid like stab his sister to death with a knife on Halloween night?
Yeah.
Now why is Lori dropping the keys off?
Because they're gonna sell the house. Somebody needs to come into the house and inspect the house, so she drops the keys off there, and that's how she becomes a target. It's just she does somebody a favor and becomes a target. When they're in the classroom, they're talking about fate, and whether fate's like a
faith and fate.
Well, no fate. They were saying whether fate was linked to faith, like you could change your fate by being a better person, or is what I think they were saying, or is fate something natural, like air, water, wind, and fire, and earth. Like it's those things that are just elements that you can't really, they are. And so fate is what it is, and you cannot change it because it's as constant as those things.
Here's what is funny, in the story it is a 6-year-old Michael Myers, but the timeline jumps 15 years. So the timeline wouldn't add up. But it made $70 million on a $325,000 budget. That's pretty crazy. So we have found a little nest egg that nobody knew about in Halloween.
Oh, I'm sure everybody knows that.
So do you feel this film is kind of like a heart to like super Christian people like, oh, if you do bad, you're going to get taken out. You know what I mean? The boogeyman's going to come get you. And all these kids are doing all this promiscuous stuff. She's still smoking pot, but that's okay. You know what I mean? She's
she almost died.
Yeah, but she's like the heroine, you know what I mean? They saved like the the goody to survive. Yeah.
They were the ones that
it wasn't
would
a
be
moral
more,
statement.
Yeah, but they were the ones that would be more accessible to him because they're trying to get alone. They're getting rid of the kid, dumping the kid off.
They were definitely like making themselves isolated.
Isolating
They
themselves because they
were
want to
drunk
get it on.
or drinking, so
Yeah.
they weren't really paying attention. They weren't really aware of what, kind of relaxed about it. They were making themselves perfect victims.
Yeah. It was strange for me for him to put on the Halloween, like the sheet and stuff, and have a little joke and a sense of humor because it was like that.
He's pure evil.
It just seemed out of character to me, from what was built up so far. And I know he didn't have a lot, but
he does have more.
But he does have enough for that to seem strange to me that he would don a sheet.
But he's killing babysitters too, which is what his sister was babysitting him poorly.
Very poorly.
Halloween was good. It had some.
It's really good. It's a really good film.
It built up the suspense in ways without. I mean.
The movie was paced slowly, but it doesn't seem like it's paced slow because of the amount of suspense that's built into it. I guess would be you're able to get away with more like lengthier builds of time before you get to the
Well, and he
money
has
shot.
his shots too. Like for a long time.
They always pan out. They walk away.
Michael Myers watching people for a long time, and you're just waiting for it. You're just like, oh man.
How are they gonna stop him? That's what I think. I'm like, that character can't stop him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a force. He's gonna kill him. They're not gonna stop him. That's the way I feel like when I'm watching it.
I feel like you just need to get away, like stab him in the
out of there.
eye, like she did,
Yeah.
but then don't like sit with your back in the doorway. I
Well,
mean, that was another.
Being in the
build
closet,
of
like
suspense.
putting herself in the closet. Oh my
What
god.
are you doing?
She's like tying it up, and he's
That
rattling
is
the doors
that is,
forever.
That is like nerve wracking.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Nerve rattling when he's rattling the doors.
Yeah.
It's just, and then he like breaks it. It's so forceful.
He knew exactly where she was at. He went right over there and he knocked that down. It wasn't any like length of time of him searching around in front of the
Kind of
bed.
noisy about it.
She
Honestly,
That's
was
true,
squealing and stuff.
she was
yeah.
squealing, but she was also real noisy when she got
Yeah,
into it.
she just-
Like, if he couldn't have
I would have
heard
been
that.
jumping out the window. I would have been like, "Flee you!"
Bye, kids.
Fuck the kids.
Yeah.
Dave's
Sorry.
jumping out the window.
Yeah. See
Well,
ya,
at
kids.
this point,
You're gone.
yeah.
That was Nancy Loomis.
Yeah, she deserved to die first, right? She ends up getting her throat cut.
She deserved to die
She
first.
gets choked a whole bunch,
Yeah.
In the
and
car.
then he just takes a knife and she gets in. The doors, she realizes that the door's unlocked, and then the window's fogged up, so somebody is like, wait a minute, why is all why are the
because
windows
she just had to
fogged
go
up?
get her keys because the door was locked.
Yeah.
And then she comes back and just gets right in. And it's like, as an
And
audience
she doesn't even
member,
think
you're
about
like,
it. You're like, wait a
dumbass.
minute.
Yeah, and then
And
as
then
soon
the
as she
window's
realizes
steamed
that
Yeah.
she's being
She's
choked,
being.
That-
she
that's
tried to
some-
honk the horn, which is
She did
sensible,
hit it
but
sometimes.
It didn't do.
that's a horrible scene. Like, it's very rough to watch.
Well, I think
it
the
takes a
reason
while.
why
He
It
really
takes a while to choke her.
he
Yeah.
spends his time choking her. Yeah.
Be there
6:30
to do the babysitting. Probably about a half hour later, she brought the kid over there. So
Roughly.
7:38.
I don't know though,
maybe.
because the movie gets playing. They play The Thing,
Yeah,
and then Forbidden Planet plays later. So
Yeah.
probably.
close
Well,
to
they didn't
nine,
have commercial
right?
breaks back there on TV.
They did, because
Did
it was like it had that little advertisement that voice came on.
Yeah.
Stay
To the conclusion. Yeah. Isn't that nifty? John Carpenter, who remade The Thing, in this movie puts The Thing on the television that the children are watching.
Yeah.
Howard Hawks The Thing, and he lets The Thing, the
Show,
title
you
sequence
see
burn
it,
through,
Yeah.
which is exactly the same kind of title sequence he used when he remade it. The same burn through kind of
Yeah.
technique.
That was cool. Did like that.
Donald Pleasance. Let's talk about Donald Pleasance, because Donald Pleasance was a pretty seasoned actor at this point, and I think it was a big deal for him to get him. Well, it was for John to get him onto this film, and it was a bit. He carries the film. Like you said, he tells the story for us of who Michael is. He sells it for us, and he went on to be in like the sequel. He went on to be in 4, 5, and 6.
Wow.
Jeez.
He's Dr. Loomis.
He's
Every
still
year.
going after it.
Yeah,
He's
it
still
never
he's
stopped.
become his life
Yes.
journey.
In the 6th film, he's out in retirement. He comes back. You can tell he's old. It's like Edward G. Robinson in Soylent Green. The guy's
Getting old.
he's up there. He's not just playing that role. He is that role. So
He's like, I've been chasing Michael Myers my whole fucking life.
This is the
psychotic bastard.
There I go
is born
again.
now.
I shot this guy 6 fucking times.
I stabbed.
And now I don't know what else I've done to him since I've seen all his movies. But I'm telling you,
I don't know what else
it's been hard because he's done some killing, and I've never
I'll
been
tell
able to
you,
get
he
this
does
guy.
more stuff to him. When Michael Myers kills the people, it doesn't bother me so much. When Michael Myers gets stabbed and poked in the eye, I squirm. I'm like, oh, the eye!
It's not so bad when you get choked and sliced. So
I mean, like I said, the choking scene is pretty intense. It takes a long time for him to kill her. Killing the dumbass guy, yeah, that doesn't bother me so much.
when he gets pinned to the wall.
Yeah.
He was a douche.
Yeah. Not as bad as the pumpkin head douche.
That guy.
That guy is like,
Oh,
so far, king douche.
King douche.
Here's another thing that's interesting that we bring up in Halloween that Rob Zombie remade the film Halloween. The sound bit there's a sound bit taken from Halloween with little kids in the beginning are teasing Tommy Doyle.
The boogeyman.
The boogeyman is going to get you. He sampled that. Like Rob Zombie took that sound clip of the boys teasing and added it to the beginning of the song I'm Your Boogeyman, which is a remake that he did for one of his albums.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on to make Halloween. So that's pretty fitting, you know. Kind of like Carpenter's The Thing and then going on to remake The Thing.
Yes, connections everywhere.
Love the music. We got to talk about the musical score.
Simple,
carries the
highly
film.
effective.
It hits in the right spot. Like, it's off, and you're like, okay, what's happening? And the music hits, you're like, what's about to happen? For me, like, I felt the film was great. You know, before I saw the film, I was like, I didn't really appreciate it, I guess, as much as I did now that I've sat here and watched it with my friends.
I know there was at least one cheap shot in the film, and the gutter falls right on the window.
Oh yeah,
the
smashes.
gutter smacks that window. That was a good cheap shot. Got me on that one.
And I love that scene when Dr. Loomis is on the phone booth. And
The train.
And he's talking. Yeah, and you hear the train coming for a while. He's talking, finishes up his conversation, hangs it up. The camera like goes with him as he runs around or walks around and sees this truck like abandoned. And as he goes to inspect it, this train kind of roaring down the tracks. It's just a beautifully timed out scene. Right?
Yeah, it's cool. It's hard. I mean, how can you get that scene? It's like you gotta get the train scheduled down to a T.
Yes.
You know, action.
Possibly.
Or they
just
one?
they do the talk. They play audio of a train over top of him talking on the phone, and then they just do a cut. And I didn't notice the cut, but they could do a cut.
I don't think that's a cut. That's
I
one
thought-
scene.
I
That's
felt
one.
like
That's
it was-
one shot.
I felt like it was all one.
That's one shot.
That's why
yeah.
I was so impressed.
Yeah, that's one shot.
Holy
There's no way to
shit.
cut that. No, there's no. He hung up the phone. It's facing him. He hangs up the phone, walks out of the phone booth, and the point of view
Man, I'm willing
is
to
that.
pause the video and go look to find out.
So it was one continuous scene.
Yeah,
that
one
was what it
continuous
was.
shot.
It was just a great shot. So
Yeah.
either he set the shot up, or he just had lucky timing.
It's a beautiful, beautiful shot.
Yep, it was pretty awesome. Now that you actually go back and appreciate that being just one take, one hit.
Yeah.
You know.
And then you got a big train come roaring in right at the right
Yeah, Roger put on the full screen version of it by accident, and then I cut the train out.
You can't see the train
You
coming.
can't see it.
It's all,
So-
that shot's completely ruined with the full screen.
What are you talking about? Those pan and scan editors are awesome.
Well, that wraps up our Halloween month. Yeah. So, Roger, how'd you rate this film?
You know, watching it tonight, I would say it's a 3. I think it's a really good film. I don't really think it's a great film.
I think that if this film wanted to build suspense, it did a great job at it. Doing so much with so little, I'd say it's great. It inspired many other films. It's inspired horror lovers for generations, and it's still relevant. It's still absolutely relevant in our culture, you know, over 30 years later. And so I think that makes it a great film. And even though the film quality's dated and stuff, it really isn't that dated of a film. It still gets you. You're not.
Separating it from what it's done, you know, I think it's a 3. But when you take into account what it's done, what it spawned, it does make it a great film. But I think the film itself, by itself, is a 3. I think it's a really good film. That's why I give it by itself, standing alone, 3.
Cool.
I recommend it.
I appreciate
Recommend
the way
it.
you described it, though.
Yeah.
I give it 2 thumbs up. Why do you guys keep me around?
We ask ourselves this when you're not around. Totally. Would
My pick is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. All right. Well, hey, we'll see you next week.